You can't buy back the days of your life that maybe you feel that you could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
But you can earn your health back. And that's been one of the lessons for me in this.
Welcome to the MTNTOUGH podcast, brought to you by Sig Sauer. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the MTNTOUGH podcast. I am Dustin Diefenderfer, host and CEO, and we are so glad that you're here. We love seeing you come back week after week into this content. And remember, it is our goal every single episode to bring you an inspiring guest that's diving into that mindset, that mental fitness, giving you some tools for that toolbox so that you can live the abundant life, so that you're ready for anything, so that you can stay dangerous. If you are a new or a loyal listener, I wanted to make sure you knew about a code that only podcast listeners have access to. That code is Mountain Pod. So MTNPOD, all caps, all one word. That code gets you 6 weeks free on the MTNTOUGH app. So if you've been waiting to check out the MTNTOUGH training, that's physical, mental, nutritional training for all levels, this is your chance to get in there for 6 weeks. It's going to give you the 30 days for free plus the 14-day free trial. So a month and a half of free training on MTNTOUGH Plus as a gift to our podcast community. So you can do that on mountaintough.com, click start free trial, then enter the code MountainPod, MTNPOD. Shifting over to today's episode, this is a phenomenal episode, one of our favorites in recent history. We have a returning guest. We have Randy Newberg back on the show today. And it was a special episode because Randy came in person in the lab just to break down his experience this year, this summer, on his McKenzie Mountain Doll sheep hunt. He goes into detail around the hunt, the beauty of the McKenzie Mountains, and how every hunter once in their lifetime, hands down, should try to find a chance to get into that backcountry. He breaks down how wild it is up there and how it is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And Randy has been to a lot of places. Additionally, he's going to talk about the training he did prior to that hunt and how that training paid off in the moment that counted the most, that led him to the shot of a lifetime on a hunt of a lifetime. Phenomenal episode. So stand by for my conversation with Randy Newberg. So we just got back from a elk hunt.
Yeah, sorry, Dustin. it was an elk walk or a mountain walk.
I've had plenty of those in my life, so
yeah,
I'm used to it.
I had such big expectations. I'm like, man, I got Dustin and Nate with me. We're going to shoot a bull down on one of these holes and getting it out. It's going to be like just carrying a lunch to school.
That spot looked so good, too. That drainage in the bottom, it's all lush. I was like, oh, they're going to be down there for sure.
Yeah.
Bugling, nothing.
I just think there's such amazing habitat on the private.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they leave that until they get pressured?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, animal habits are interesting, especially when you add in those private ag fields.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm sitting up on that mountain, it's like I go down there and eat alfalfa every day and just have to come like a mile to find a little shady patch. Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got alfalfa, grain.
Yeah.
No one chasing you down.
Yeah. Elk aren't dumb.
No. Yeah.
So anyhow, sorry about that. But
you know what was cool about that trip though was the Northern Lights. I was looking at some of that footage with Nate, and
insane.
I've seen them before, but the way the iPhone was picking up those photos was so cool.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The orange and the yellow and the green and the blue and the white. I've seen a lot of northern lights when I've been up in northern latitudes, but that's probably as impressive of northern lights as I've ever seen in Montana.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were really good ones.
Yeah.
The green kind of coming through
Yeah.
and some of those time lapse videos, you see a bunch of shooting stars going through.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's, I guess that gives more confirmation to my point that any day out in the woods, camping, hunting, whatever, it's never a waste.
It's never a waste.
Something's going to catch your attention.
Yeah. You and I talked a lot about that on that hunt, and I thought about it a bunch more, and I do think that that is a factor that separates some success sometimes, is I think that every single time I'm out, I'm always scouting for the next thing.
Absolutely.
And I think that leads to some cool success later on down the road where you're like, oh, I know where there might be an elk right now, or I know where there might be a bear right now. And it's not because you had a great hunt there before, but it's because every single trip is a scouting trip.
Yeah. Like where we hiked out to, I told you, hey, I've never been here in archery season. And in fact, that one spine we went out to, I've never hiked out there, even though I've probably hunted a dozen days in that area in rifle season. Walking out to that spine, I'm like, wow, there might have been so many elk that were hid right below me that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
So I think that trip is going to help me when I go back in rifle season, because I'm going out there and now I can look at a completely different exposure. I had no idea there were that many openings down below where I normally glass from.
Yeah. That's big.
Yeah.
That can lead to a lot of success.
Yeah.
I have so many pins marked on my map of you should lay here with your rifle someday.
Yeah, and I think that's the mindset of a hunter, right? Especially as we get older, we realize that the journey isn't just that week of hunting or that day of hunting or even that season of hunting. It's that lifetime of hunting. And you're picking up these little nuggets that over the course of that lifetime of hunting, some days the opportunity is going to be right to be in that spot.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have found it if it wouldn't have been for that day that was a complete failure.
Yeah. I love that too, because hunters are unlike anyone else. A lot of people call it a sport, which is funny because like the deer and elk don't know they're playing a game, but it's compared to sports all the time.
Right.
But no other sport do you decide where you're going to live, where you're going to work, what you do all year round.
Right.
Like you're making decisions every day, every week, every month around hunting.
Yep.
It's a lot different than being into golf or other sports for sure.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when you get to that point, I moved to Bozeman, came here on my honeymoon in 1989.
Nice.
With the intention of where's my hunting life going to end up. And I don't view it as a sport. To me, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It is a life that I want to live and have lived and hopefully continue to live. And so that's why I look at it as this much longer arc of a journey than just, oh, I'm going here for a day.
Yeah.
I think, anyhow, for me, it makes every day more intriguing. And by using that as its cumulative knowledge base to work from, over time it results in more successes.
Oh, it does for sure. Yeah. And you just got home from a place that had some northern lights also.
Yeah. The Northwest Territories, the McKenzie Mountains of Canada. It had been on my list since I was young. I was a big history buff about the fur trade and Hudson's Bay Company and all that. Well, that led me into this person, Alexander McKenzie, who in the late 1700s went up to this, what is now the McKenzie country, from Great Slave Lake and north and west of there. And it was fascinating how he used the indigenous people to help him survive and travel that country. Well, you go back, 230 years later, it's not changed. There's still nobody there other than a few small indigenous communities.
Wow.
You don't hear jets flying over. You don't hear the hum of traffic. you don't hear anything other than rivers roaring. You hear some rock slides at night, laying in the tent. I remember one morning I woke up, I asked Ty, the wrangler, I'm like, was that the horses running last night? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it sounded like a herd of horses ran by. He's like, oh no, that's a rock slide. He said, you'll hear those just about every night. It's geologically speaking, it is such a young, fresh landscape. It's sharp and edgy, and you go there, and it is so far beyond the captivations that I expected it to be. I can't wait to someday get a chance to go back.
Man.
It's just so...
You've been waiting almost 40 years to get out.
Yeah, a little over 40 years I've been dreaming about it. And so in 40 years, that's a lot of time for a dream to marinate. And you often wonder, have I just built this into something so crazy I'll never meet the expectation? Well, there are some landscapes that your mind can't create an appropriate expectation, because it's so unique. It's so new to anything you've ever experienced. Your mind can only build from what it's experienced or heard about.
Yeah.
I would just tell everybody, to understand the McKenzies, you have to go there.
It's so massive, too.
Yeah. It is the size of 15 Yellowstone parks.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
15 Yellowstones.
Yeah. And, here we are, an hour drive from Yellowstone, so it's in our backyard. We know very well what that's like. But that gets 5 million and 6 million tourists a year. Wow. You take 15 of those, and most of the hunting concessions, as I understand it, are leased from the First Nations people. And there's 7 outfitters that they've allocated that among.
Across 15 Yellowstones.
Yeah, so each outfitter has, plus or minus 2 Yellowstone parks. And while we were there, 4 of us flew in, 4 flew out, and then mid-hunt, 4 more fly in. So there's no more than 6 to 8 hunters across that landscape at any time.
Can't even scratch the surface of it.
You'll hear the guides talk about, well, I wonder how we'd get in there. They're looking at a map, and the outfitter Harold would be like, well, I remember in 1998, we hiked in there and we decided you couldn't get horses in there.
Oh, man.
So there's so much of it that's never been hunted.
There's drainages that aren't seeing a human in 20 years.
Yeah.
Or ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't see any resident hunting pressure, which, has its pluses and minuses. If you're there hunting, it's a plus. Maybe it's a minus because you'd want more advocacy for keeping this the way it is. But it's an experience that I've hunted the wilds of Alaska. I've hunted pretty much every wild, renowned place in the lower 48. I've hunted the Cassiars of British Columbia, the Yukon. I would say the Cassiars are the only place that come close to the desolation of this. And as much as I love the Cassiars, the McKenzies are just that notch above.
How's it doing conservation-wise from being protected?
It's doing very, very well. There's occasionally you'll get an exploration company looking for minerals or whatever. I was asking the outfitter and the guides about this, and they laugh. Those are mostly just people raising speculation that we found gold or we found whatever just to take people's money who bet on these speculative ventures. Right now, the primary economy as it relates to a use of the land in the McKenzies is, if you want to call it, tourism. Hunting being probably the most profitable part of that.
Number one, yeah.
Yeah. It's, man, it's so fascinating. And to go there and, this kind of gets to you guys in some respect. When I came over here in December of 2023, I'd been dealing with an arm injury, been babying that for almost 10 months, and so atrophy and everything. And driving a desk for a living as a CPA is not conducive to being in the kind of shape you're in. I'm really thankful that I spent 9 months, whatever it was, and that you guys were willing to put up with me for 9 months. Because if I would have went there with this probably once in a lifetime hunt on a landscape that you get out of that landscape what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to put a lot into that.
That's big.
And so the point of that is the return I got out of it is so immense that everyone who talks to me is like, I've never heard you so enamored with a place, and you've been hunting a lot.
You've been to a lot of places.
Yeah, and I don't know how to say it. It is one of those special places that you just it needs to be on anyone who loves wild places. And I don't care if you want to go there blueberry picking or ptarmigan hunting or floating a river or whatever. You owe it to yourself to see the McKenzies, because the McKenzies are going to reset your definition of what wild really can be. It's cool.
Yeah, I think you should describe to listeners how difficult it was to get there. Trying to get in there is funny.
Yeah, 3 days is, so living in Bozeman, it's easier to fly to Edmonton, which is kind of your jump off point to the NWT. So if we drove to Edmonton, some people would say, well, I'm going to fly from, Seattle or Salt Lake or Minneapolis. I'll fly there to Edmonton. Okay. But then once you get to Edmonton, that's when the adventure starts. Because then you go to Yellowknife, which is the capital of Northwest Territories. And it's 40,000 people on the west shore of Great Slave Lake that is just out in the middle of nowhere. There is a road that gets there, but it's a day drive from Edmonton. And everyone is like, it's
12 hours of gravel.
Yeah. And gas and all. It's like, no, I'm going to fly. So then you get to Yellowknife. And sometimes you got to overnight in Yellowknife. Sometimes you can luck out and connect. But our trip took us Edmonton, Yellowknife to Inuvik, which is up on the Arctic Ocean, or almost. It's like a little First Nations community that's in the middle of it is. From there, you can see the border of nowhere.
Man,
and so we went way north, and then we had to fly south. Kind of the jump off point, I would say, to the McKenzie Mountains is Norman Wells.
Okay.
Norman Wells is another small community. There has been some oil and gas exploration east of Norman Wells. It's on the east bank of the McKenzie River. The mountains that are known for their hunting are to the west. So what oil and gas exploration has been there really has not impacted things much.
Yeah.
And so you land in Norman Wells and you're like, well, I wonder how we get, you aren't getting an Uber. There's no airport shuttle for the hotel. Or you're figuring out, how do I get all my stuff over to the hotel, which is a mile or two away. And so you're loaded up with gear and so
walking down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. People are like, hey, you need a ride? Sure. Throw your junk in their vehicle and give them $20 for the headache or whatever. There's really, think about in big cities, how many food establishments, restaurants have closed because they don't have enough help.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you're in a little First Nations community of 300 people. You don't have any help. So
No.
Pretty much all the restaurants are closed. So you go down to this little store and you buy, whatever snack can get you through that night. And then the next morning, you haul all of your gear out to the float plane terminal, which is 5 miles out of town. We are lucky. I think it's called North Right. We called them. They have a little shuttle.
They came and got you.
Yeah, we're like, hey, we're flying out with you guys tomorrow. Sure, it'd be nice if you could pick us up at the hotel. And they're like, yeah, we'll swing by and get you. So then you pile into that, and then you usually fly out to whatever outfitter you're with. They usually have a base camp on a lake. And so you get in there overnight there. And then we had, I can't remember if it was 8 or 10 hour horse ride the next day. to get to, most people call it a spike camp. They call it your base camp. So they bring a wall tent, and then you stay in a wall tent. And that looks like in my head, the Game Oregon Trail. Yeah. I look, and there's 7 of us. There's me and Marcus and our sweepstakes winner. So that's 3 of us. Then 2 guides, a wrangler, and a cook. There's 7 of us on horses, and 10 horses empty. Well, not empty, loaded with gear and food and
just
survival
to get in
stuff.
there.
Got 17 horses. It looked like the Oregon Trail had not a camp. But you ride horse, and as quick as you clear the first little pass away from camp, you look down this river valley that looks like it goes forever, and it's just inspiring, and
no one's out there.
Nobody's there, and it looks like if someone said, "All right, paint a picture of wild," that's what you would paint.
Dang.
And every place you go, you look down when you're riding your horse, and there's a big pile of grizzly crap there, and there's moose tracks and caribou tracks, and it's just...
Hey guys, I did want to interrupt for a quick minute right here and let you know about some supplements I've been taking. I did shy away from supplements for a long time. I was always cautious about what they were made out of, where they were from, and who the team was behind the brands. But over the last couple of years, I've got to meet the team at Mountain Ops from top to bottom, and they are an amazing group of humans. I've got to know the CEO, Trevor Farnes, really well, and he is a mission-focused individual that cares about humans living a better quality of life so that they can have that abundant life. So over the last couple of years, he has helped me add some things that have changed the game for me. One of those things that I've added is creatine from Mountain Ops. It helps me maintain some muscle mass, but also it's a big player in cognitive function, one of the most researched supplements out there. Also, I've added reds, greens, and protein, all from Mountain Ops. What I found as a busy professional, always on the run, I do eat a whole foods diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but on the go, it's hard to get enough vegetables, fruits, and protein. So I've added that from Mountain Ops, and it has significantly changed the game. I can feel it in my performance. I haven't got sick for a long time, and I can certainly feel it in my mental clarity as well. The last thing I've added is the Mountain Tough Hydrate product for the backcountry, for hunting season. When I'm in the hills, I do run short on those electrolytes. We even have a Mountain Tough flavor, the Mountain Tough Lemon Lime Hydrate, and that is a game changer for hydration in the backcountry. So I keep it really simple. That is all I've added to my protocol, and it has certainly helped me, and I certainly believe in the team and the culture behind Mountain Ops. They have started an initiative that's been around for a while called Conquer Hunger. Conquer Hunger is giving meals to hungry kids that aren't getting enough food, and they've given out over 6 million meals plus to kids through their Conquer Hunger initiative. So every order that happens at Mountain Ops, a percentage of that order goes to Conquer Hunger. So certainly an incredible company, an incredible culture. As a listener to the show, you do get an exclusive offer to Mountain Ops, so make sure you check that out. The offer is incredible as a first-time purchase at mountainops.com. So build your order if it's your first time. They are offering you a 20% exclusive discount. All you need to do is enter the promo code Mountain Tough, all one word, all caps, for 20% off your first order at mountainops.com. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. It's hard to imagine places like that still exist.
Yeah, it is. And you look down this river drainage. I remember Riley, my guide, I'm like, where are we going? Because we stopped for a minute. He's like, oh, you see up around the corner there, about 12 miles. That's where we're going to set camp the first day. And then we'll hunt there for 4 or 5 days. And if the horses start getting low on grass, we'll move again. Mm-hmm. And you look at that and you're thinking, me and Andy, the sweepstakes winner, we're the only 2 hunters in here this year.
Yeah.
There will be nobody here while we're here.
Unreal.
You couldn't have hunted that big drainage in 5 years. You couldn't have explored every
All the
finger of it.
nooks and crevices.
Nah, not even close.
I think it's mind-blowing, too, that they take those horses in every year 150 miles.
Yeah.
Just to get them into the area of operation.
Yeah, it's insane to bring that many horses, 4 guys, bring that many horses 150 miles. They actually come up the Yukon side. There's a road that goes quite a ways north on the Yukon side. They have a Freightliner truck with all these horses in there. They got to go across a ferry with this Freightliner. They show me pictures. It barely fits on the ferry.
Oh, man.
They get across the other side, and then they go for a while longer, and then they unload the horses, and off they go. They told me that to get to where they're at, they do 80 river and stream, like big stream crossings.
80 just to
80.
get those horses in.
Yeah.
For a pretty short season.
Yeah. And then they got to bring them back out. Like right now, they're bringing them out.
Man.
And I asked them, I'm like, well, what do you do if it rains and the river is swollen? Well, your horse swims. I'm like, you ride your horse while it's swimming the river? Oh, yeah, we put life jackets on when we do that. I'm like, count me out on that, man. If this river swells up, I'm not doing that, man. I'm hunting this side of the river.
Man.
But
the creative thinking you see with people that live out in that environment is awesome.
It is. And that's for me anyhow, as someone who's always fascinated by how other people approach problems and solve problems, I could sit there all day and watch what they're doing or ask questions. I'm sure they're tired of me.
Yeah.
They're like, glad that guy's gone. He asks a question every 2 minutes.
That stuff's great, though.
Yeah, you learn so much from seeing that and how they do things and how they make it work, whether it's camp, whether it's base camp, whether it's how they provide high-quality meals, how they take care of the horses, or their hunting, how they approach the hunting on that landscape. I learned so much watching those guys. It's like, I'm making notes here.
Well, and there's never a victim mentality with those guys. It's like, we just figure it out.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
Yeah. And Riley, my guide, one day we were working on something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but he said to himself, no shortcuts. In other words, let's fix this and let's fix it right. Mm-hmm. Because when we're back here, if you try to, do things half-baked and something breaks or someone gets hurt, this is not.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote it on my whiteboard at my office now.
Doing things right.
Yeah, no shortcuts. It takes so much. I mean, the marginal time to do it right versus a shortcut solution isn't that much different.
Yeah.
And
especially when it's life and death.
Yeah. And
you ever watch the show growing up, MacGyver?
Yeah.
They're all like
they're
MacGyvers.
all MacGyvers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, I can rebuild a ATV with a Leatherman.
Some of the things that they've told us that they've done out there, some of the things they've fixed with what little they had, it just, it's fascinating.
It's cool.
And, like when we were out there, some of the one horse I was on, there's a big spruce tree, and he'd love to rub up against a spruce tree. Well, my scabbard is sticking out a little bit, and he goes in there, and he's a 2,000-pound horse. He just tore the leather off the scabbard. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. My rifle's down here in the mud. We get there and tie the wrangler. This will work till we get back to camp. Get back to camp, it worked. And the next day he had it completely fixed. I'm like, how'd you fix that? Oh, I just bring this stuff with me, and I figured it out.
Leather kit.
Yeah. It looked better than when I jumped on the horse the first day. So, yeah, I think you just have to have that mindset. I think the mindset of being optimistic. If one thing that was really, to me, was a big accolade from them is at like day 5 or 6, I can't remember. Riley said, "You guys are some of the most optimistic people we've had here."
That's a compliment.
Yeah. And I think that makes their job easier. You know, if you get up and you say, oh, gee, I don't think we're going to see anything today, or, you know, for me, I get up, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm here in the McKenzie Mountains. I might shoot a sheep today. I might shoot a caribou today.
Yeah.
And I truly feel that way. So it is genuine. But I think about how hard their job would be if you had some sourpuss. Like, I don't think we're going to, let's just stay in camp. We're not going to see anything today. You know, it might rain today. And it's like, no way, man. So
yeah, optimism is a key mental toughness trait.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. And for me, it's a coping thing. You know, it gets me through so many times where you'd maybe give up or take an easier route. Like, no, that's why I got my pack with all my kill kit, my knives, my game bags. I'm killing something today.
Yep.
And I can't imagine leaving camp without the physical gear, which represents your mindset that today's success.
Yep.
And I don't know, just how I'm built, I guess. But that was a great, he probably didn't realize it, how much that meant to me when he said, you know, you guys, referring to me and Marcus and Andy, you guys are just the most optimistic guys.
Yeah. It makes life way more enjoyable.
Oh, yeah. And you go to a place like that, you want to have as much of that experience as you can. And I think your mindset is such a huge part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the hunt. I know there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
But I would love to highlight the physical part of right before the shot, because I know that is what you were training for, because we knew that there was a likelihood that could happen, because it happens all the time on hunts of a lifetime where people can't quite get there. They can't quite steady themselves if they get there. They can't get their heart rate down to make a good shot. And we didn't know that would exactly happen with you, but it did happen. And that's what we talk about all the time at Mountain Tough, is we want you to thrive in the backcountry, where the backcountry is always going to be somewhat grueling and difficult. But because of that, that's what makes it so beautiful.
Yeah.
But by doing some training, you can thrive in those environments. And when you thrive, you aren't stuck in camp. You can make it to the end of a 7-day hunt. But a lot of times, these shots of a lifetime, or these moments, these little windows that open up all the time in hunting, they're so short, just a couple seconds. And if we don't have the physical strength to get there, then we miss out on those opportunities.
Yeah.
And you'd been training in the lab for 9 months, and we knew that training was to get you so that you could thrive in the McKenzies. But it turned out a big part of it was also getting to that ram in time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, when we were flying in, I said to myself, or I might have even said it to Marcus, flying in, it's looking at those mountains. It's like, this is why you do Bulgarians.
All those Bulgarians.
But that instance, you know, a lot of people, I think they read or they see on video that, oh, you sneak up and it's a perfect setup and you have all the time in the world and the ram lays there. And that does happen at times. But in this instance, we thought Andy, the guest hunter, was going to shoot this ram. So I left my rifle down with the horses, 1.5 miles down the mountain, because everyone was like, well, there could be 2 shooters in there, so maybe we'll get a twofer. That's what I'm like, look, one time I tried to get a twofer on a Dall sheep hunt. Marcus and I tried it, and we got an ofer. And fortunately, Marcus captures me before we leave, talking to the camera. I'm leaving my rifle here. And so we go up there, and now it's pelting rain. We glassed them from down in the river bottom a couple miles away. We got to ride horses about 1 mile to get to this great big rock slide. I mean, it's 300 yards wide, and it goes up the mountain for 1 mile, 1.5 miles. So we do that, and we're chugging up there, and it's a pretty good go. And yeah, I'm thinking to myself, man, I really hope Andy shoots this. This would be so cool. And when we'd seen him below, we could see he flared way out. And the other 2 rams were full curl rams. But so we get there, and there's a big knife ridge, and my guide Riley and I and the wrangler Ty, the 3 of us say, you know what? The other 3, Andy the shooter, Jason his guide, and Marcus who's going to film it, you guys go over that ridge and you know, shoot them.
Yeah, less people.
We're sitting there and it's raining like crazy. We're all starting to get kind of a chill. It's like 45 degrees. And Riley, he breaks out his jet boil thing, his MSR, and he's like, you want some tea? And so we're warming up with tea and hot chocolate. And I look and here's Jason, the guide, kind of skiing the scree, as we call it, right? When you're coming down that stuff, you're almost like skiing.
It's like skiing, yeah.
Yeah. And so he waves Riley, my guide, waves him over. So they're about, 20 yards away talking, and the rain pelting my rain gear. I can't hear anything. Finally, Riley comes to me. He's like, Andy's going to pass that ram, but Marcus thinks it's one you might shoot. So Jason wants to know if you want to shoot. I'm like, let's go. So I don't have a rifle. I'm like, I'll borrow Andy's rifle when I get up there. In fact, I told Andy that because Andy said, well, what are you going to do if we see a big caribou? I'm like, that's why you're carrying a rifle. I'm going to borrow yours. Anyhow, we get up there. Marcus and Andy are about 30 yards above us. My guide Riley sneaks around this corner and he's got the ram in his spotting scope. And he pulls away from his spotter and he gives me like this raised eyebrow look like,
it's a good one.
Yeah. So he kind of whistles me over. So I go over there and I took, just when I looked in his spotter, the ram turned and gave me that full on flare. That's all. I only looked at it for 2 or 3 seconds in the spotter. I told Riley, I'm like, I'll shoot that thing. He's like, well, get over here and shoot him then. I'm like, well, my rifle's down there at the horses. He's like, what?
I've used a ton of Bluetooth speakers over the years, and they all have never quite had enough output for me to really have an awesome home gym workout on a Bluetooth speaker. But the Turtle Box is in a whole new ball game. They have leveled up this product, so the bass and the output you get out of a Turtle Box is quite amazing. It's funny how we started using them at the lab. We had an awesome sound system at our new lab here in Bozeman. We were using it so much, we actually blew our brand new system out. We went right to the Turtle Boxes. And so we paired 2 together in the lab. And that was a lot of output for the Mountain Tough team and all of our testing to have phenomenal sound in our gym for a great workout with great music. We know there's a ton of Mountain Toughers training in their basements, in their garages, and I know a lot of you are looking for great sound to play some music in the background to your MGDs. This is a great product for you to check out. Turtle Box is at a whole new level. The bass and the volume you can get out of that box. It's a sweet product. You guys can check them out at turtleboxaudio.com. Use promo code TOUGH for a free Turtlebox hat with the purchase of a Gen 2 speaker. The hat must be added to your cart before entering the promo code TOUGH, TOUGH. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast.
So Andy and Marcus being above us, Marcus is filming this whole thing from this little flat rock. Well, I'm whistling Andy to bring his rifle down. So he starts doing that. And in the wind and rain, Riley's whispering, stop, stop, stop. Well, I can't hear what he's saying. I'm telling Andy, get down here. We got to get your rifle here quick. Well, the ram sees the movement and they take off. So this whole notion that we're going to shoot this ram that doesn't know that we're here, that's out the window.
He's spooked now.
Yeah. They are moving up. And when sheep get scared, they go up the mountain. So now I've really screwed this up. It's like, oh man, even though it's only day 2, I can't believe I screwed this up. So Riley goes over to talk to Jason. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm sure it's something to the effect of, this is the first hunter I've ever had who left his rifle down.
It doesn't even have a rifle.
And I look up, and Marcus is frantically giving us the hand signals, like, get up here. I whistle at Riley. I'm like, Marcus sees him up there. So we run up there, or scramble or whatever you can do in that scree and stuff. And we get there. And just as we get there, Riley sees him going around the next corner.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, let's go. And I'm like, Andy, give me your rifle. I need 5 bullets. And we're doing all this. And I look, and Riley's already racing across this steep scree slope. It's like 25, 30, 35 degrees.
Just going.
Yeah. In every step you take, you think you're staying at elevation, you're dropping 2 feet in that scree.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going across there, and Marcus is trying to get little clips of it. I'm not even sure what all he got, but all I remember is all of a sudden Riley turns and goes straight uphill. I'm like, come on, man, I'm dumb, but even I know that you can't go uphill in scree and catch sheep.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't know is about 20 yards above us, he had seen from below that there was a sheep trail. So he's just scrambling to get to that sheep trail, which kind of flattens that scree out a little bit. And when he got there, he's just like, whoom, off he's going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to keep up with this guy. So I finally get to that sheep trail, and we're just going as fast as we can. We go across this scree slope, and we get over there. And Riley's like, we got to go. And that's all he said. And now he's just like this little dot going straight up this little spine of grass. And it's just a rock spine that interrupts the scree. And he's going up there, and he's just going. And Marcus is right on his tail. And here's what I'm thinking as this is happening. I stopped one time to catch my breath. I'm like, I'm older than those 2 guys combined. But
your heart rate was probably just pegged.
It was. But in my head, I'm like, if I'm going to make this happen, I got to be there and I got to be ready. Mm-hmm. And all this is going through your head. Like, all right, it's raining. I don't know where they're going to be, but I'm just going to be on Riley's tail. And so I just buried my trekking poles, put my head down, and I'm like, I got to catch up. I got to catch up. So I'm gaining a little bit of ground because he would stop and look and see if the rams had come out. And he's like, they're going to come out, I'm sure, in this little slot here. And so we get up there. I don't know. It's a pretty good climb to get up there. I mean, I am really huffing at this point.
Yeah.
And when we get there, one ram steps out. So I see the notch Riley's talking about. So I just throw my pack down. He throws his pack down. And this was, in retrospect, this is another thing where I was like, all right, this is why you work out for 9 months for this hunt. As we're going up there, the rams are above us. Marcus is to the left of Riley. Riley doesn't know I'm right on his tail, and I've dropped down 3 yards to the right of him. Mm-hmm. He turns to Marcus. He's like, where's Randy? Marcus is like, he's right behind you.
You're already laying there.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, good. And Riley is such a great guy. He just all smiles and laughs. And so we lay there, and the rams step out, and he's giving me yardages and telling me which one it is because the rain is pelting my scope so hard. Mm-hmm. It's like a really bad, when you drive your car down and your windshield wiper won't go fast enough.
Yep.
That's what I'm feeling like. And the wind is blowing. I got a rifle I'm borrowing, but it is a rifle. I have probably a dozen of these same models, same scope, same everything.
Yep.
So we're laying there, and now I'm working through my breathing cycles. It's like, okay, Riley is going to tell me which one. He's giving me the ranges. I got to work on my breathing cycles. So I'm doing this, and while they're all clustered up on the skyline, and he's saying, no shot, I'm using this as my opportunity to get to the bottom of that breathing cycle, making sure that I've got the butt of my rifle, completely solid so that my elevation is going to be good.
That was smart. A lot of guys would have not thought of that as quickly, and then that anxiety would have killed a couple minutes right there.
Yeah. And I think that just comes with experiences where I've screwed up some of those opportunities where you realize, you know what, if you can use this opportunity to pretend that this is your shot.
Yeah.
Because a minute 2 minutes later, it might be your shot. Well, once the cluster of rams came off the skyline, they did what Riley thought. They come across the scree slope, but they're moving straight away from us and climbing. And so he's reading off 257, 275, 285. And finally they cluster up again. And I remember the last one he said was 297. And so I just spun my dial to 300. I'm like, that's close enough. And they're still clustered up. And that last breathing cycle, it's like, man, this is really steady. And the biggest ram is in the lead now. He moves to the right, and Riley's like, he's the one moving to the right. And it's like the ram was offering himself. He stopped, slightly quartering away, 1 foot uphill, like, shoot me right here.
Opened it up.
I'm like, and just as I was watching the footage yesterday, just as Riley starts to say, that's a good shot, he says, that's, and boom. And the ram was quartering a little more than I thought. So it entered bottom third, and instead of coming out on the opposite shoulder, it came out just front of the opposite shoulder. But the ram just went boom, down. And then he starts rolling down the hill. And the thing I hear Riley say is, here he comes. But he got hung up. But the point of all that was, in fact, Marcus, within 30 seconds of that whole thing ending and wrapping up, I hope we have it on footage. He said something to the effect of, Randy, aren't you glad that you were at MTNTOUGH for the last 9 months? Or some, I'm hoping we were rolling. I don't know if we were, but because I think he realized what a sprint we just went on.
Yeah.
And that window of opportunity from when that ram stopped and I had that shot was like 4 or 5 seconds. And as quick as I shot, the way and the direction they were headed, Riley, he said, tomorrow, maybe the next day, we'll get into that next basin. You will realize you can't hunt that next basin over there. This was your shot.
Yeah, you could have missed it by 30 seconds.
Right.
They would have been over the ridge.
Yeah, and I can honestly say a year ago in 2023, with not having invested in my hunting and my health like I have, I would not have been there in time. I couldn't have kept up.
Yeah.
And if by some miracle I could have kept up, I think my heart would have exploded. And I don't know how I could have had that, my heart rate being lower like it was. It was still thumping, but low enough that it's manageable. And you get in that cycle with your breathing and your heart rate where you know, okay, here it comes. This is going to be that steady spot. So
these are big shots too. If all the listeners don't know, mini hunts like this, you draw blood, you're done. There's there's no catching them in the calf or the shin bone and then hunting the next day.
Or, and even in the instance where, okay, say I hit it and it wasn't terminal, chasing a wounded animal in that country, it's impossible. So, when you do that, this is the lifetime dream that is there in this 3, 4, 5 seconds.
High pressure.
You have to be able to do that. And I get why they prefer to have like a bedded ram, and that's the way you want to do it, but it's not always that way.
No.
And
you could have went 4 more days without seeing a shooter.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Could have. So it just reiterates how these special opportunities, you get out of it what you put into it. And what you can put into it is a big part of what your body and mind prepares you for.
Yeah.
And you guys did such a great job of that. I cussed Sarah and Nick so many times.
Sarah's voice in your head.
Yeah. I telling Sarah, I said, you have no idea how many times I'm hiking and I hear your voice. All right, MTNTOUGH. What's up, MTNTOUGH? It's like, and then, I've come to embrace the benefits of Bulgarians.
Mm-hmm.
Weighted Bulgarians are a sheep hunter's best friend, as much as you hate them in the off season. It was, I'm just so thankful that one, I got to do the hunt, but that we all did this, you know, I view you guys as such a valuable part of that hunt, even though you weren't there.
It's been awesome.
You guys really went out of your way to assess me, what my limitations are, what my accommodations needed to be. You knew I traveled a lot. You came up with these ways of, hey, you know, that's what we're here for. If people have a crazy schedule and they travel and they can't bring weights and they don't have a gym, that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I could have found a million excuses over the course of that 9 months to either not do it or to bail. Mm-hmm. And not put into it. But boy, I really would have been depriving myself. I don't know how else to say it.
I think it's so cool because I think your window of opportunity for that shot that your physical and mental strength allowed to happen under a very high pressure situation is what is happening throughout someone's life all the time. So these little windows of us having an extra hour of energy to do some work early or late, or these little windows of extra energy people have to play with their kids or engage with their kids. Mm-hmm. Those are happening every day of our life. And if we're not sharpened physically and mentally, we're missing out on them, just like you would have missed out on that shot. Yep. But hunting does this magical thing where it highlights all that into this tangible black and white moment where you were able to seize that opportunity. But those same opportunities are happening every single day, and that's what starts to create that life transformation when people start focusing more on their health. Yep. Is because the better sleep and the physical fitness and the better nutrition, all these little windows of opportunity that had gone missing start connecting, and then their life starts looking completely different. And that moment on the mountain just showed us that, like in a very highlighted example. Yeah. But I think it's much bigger than that moment. Yeah. Hey guys, there are a lot of trends out there. And one trend that I've personally found in my own life through experience that has been a game changer is cold plunging and cold water therapy. The benefits for me have been off the charts when it comes to two main categories. The physical inflammation reduction from cold plunging every day has been a complete game changer, but my favorite part of cold water therapy has been the mental aspect, the mental clarity, the stress reduction, and most importantly, the ability to build mental toughness every day in a very simple way by just forcing myself to get in that cold water has been a drastic improvement that is easy, fast, and efficient. I've tried countless different ways to access cold water therapy, from the redneck version horse troughs to building my own cold plunge system off Amazon parts and pieces. Every time I've tried that, it has been a disaster until we found Ice Barrel. Ice Barrel is the most advanced barrel design on the market, and they have the most advanced high-tech chiller on the market as well. I've met the CEO, I've worked out with the CEO, we've had them at the lab. They're a great team, American-made manufacturing, and we're proud to announce that you can now access a discount on Ice Barrel products. All you need to do as a podcast listener is use the code MOUNTAINTOUGH. That's going to get you 15% off all Ice Barrels except the chiller. Again, that's MOUNTAINTOUGH, all caps, all one word, on icebarrel.com. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast.
it is so much bigger than that. And I don't know if I did a good job of expressing this in the videos that we captured, but I'll try to do it here. Is I'm sure everyone's been on a week-long hunt. This was a 12-day hunt. And if you really are not up for the terrain, physically, mentally, you're probably going to be even more challenged by the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember riding those horses in there, feeling so good, embracing what this landscape was.
Mm-hmm.
Words, there would have been a time in my life I would have thought, boy, over the next 12 days, I hope I only have to do like a stock or two here, because I only have 2 or 3 stocks in me. Whereas going in there now, it was like, I'll do a stock a day. Because these are, when you commit and you're going on a stock in the McKenzies, it's an all-day event.
All day.
This isn't like, oh, I'll do a stock and then I'll do another one at noon. So I just remember thinking every day, if I do a stock a day, I'm ready for it. And that allows you to be there and enjoy every bit of it. All the other things, the smells, the sounds, the not just the sights, but just you get so much more out of it because of what you've put into yourself physically, which then gives you the mental, it gets you away from that. I always call it the knife edge of possibility, where this side is you've talked yourself out of it. This side, you've kept yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this knife edge possibility that I always think of it as, if your mind isn't worried about your body, your mind is going to be there. You're going to be there. So I just, it's so hard to explain unless someone was in my shoes and unless somebody was there or has went through a similar experience, how having that physical ability to go there and embrace the challenge of this landscape made the mental part of it a cakewalk.
Yeah. That's what you want. Yeah.
That's what you want. You want to thrive.
Yeah. If the mental stuff is weighing you down, then your mental capacity is taken up with thinking about, I'm sore, I'm tired, I can't breathe. Yeah. Then you don't have the mind space to think about your surroundings.
Yep.
And then you also have very little mind space at that time to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Because you're not optimistic when you're hurting that bad. And if you're not optimistic, you don't have one of the greatest mental toughness traits. So it all starts this cycle that just feeds off itself.
Yeah. And people will see later in the hunt, pretty much the same exact thing happens with a record book caribou. We're waiting and waiting. And Andy, the guest hunter, he always has first shot at everything. And there are 2 whopper caribou, full velvet. Mm-hmm. And I'm a nut for mountain caribou. And I'm waiting and waiting. And finally Andy says, nah, I can't bring myself to do this. You got to pay the extra trophy fee. And I think he was just there for once he'd shot his ram, it was more just he wanted to experience more of it. He didn't, I'm sure he would have liked to have shot one, but he's like, Randy, you look pretty worked up over one of those caribou. I'm like, I'm worked up over every caribou we've seen. But anyhow, by the time he makes that decision, the caribou are gone, and trying to catch up with caribou in this country is they're built for that. So we got to make another great big long stock. And as we're stalking, all of a sudden this bull stands up out of the willows right down below us. And now I got to go do a bunch of stuff to get in a shooting position. And he's quartering straight towards me, and I can see the other ones moving off. And just as he's about ready to turn his head and move off, I shot him. It was a much closer shot. It was only 110 yards.
That is crazy.
But again, it was like, all right, let's go. And just Riley, that guy, you can tell he played hockey and everything. He is just a motor. And he's 27 years old. And I got to keep up with him.
Yep.
It's like, wait a second. Father Time is quite a boat anchor for me. But ended up wrapping up the hunt with that. And again,
what a trip.
Yeah. I'm, you guys are doing that special thing. And I don't know how to explain to whoever the 500 people are who will sign up at Sheep Show to do that workout with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea what an unbelievable experience they are in for.
It's going to be amazing.
If I was able to do it, I mean, I'd be disqualified. I'm going to be there to cheer everybody on. But knowing what I know now, if you told me I had to do that workout 10 times for one name in the drawing, I'd do that workout 10 times.
Yeah.
That is how spectacular that place is. And you guys are letting
one lucky winner go.
Yeah. What are they? It's at Sheep Show in January of 2025?
Sheep Show, January 2025 at the convention. Tough sheep.
Tough sheep?
Yep. Only
not tough sheep. Tough sheep.
Tough sheep. Only 500 participants, and it will sell out. We're getting closer and closer each day.
Yeah.
And one of the 500 that completes the workout gets to go to the McKenzie's.
On a sheep hunt.
On a sheep hunt.
Oh, man. That is, I don't know if people, I mean, some folks probably are like, oh, I've been on this hunt. That was great. Whatever your greatest hunt is, the McKenzie's is going to be about 5X that.
Man.
So it's just by coincidence that you guys happen to be doing this giveaway.
It is by coincidence.
A year a few months after I just wrapped up a hunt that you guys were so involved in.
I know, and it's certainly going to be the best odds on planet Earth to win a hunt like this.
Yeah,
because you have to finish the workout. You don't have to win the workout,
right?
But you have to finish. Then your name will go in the hat. So it'll be less than 500 people that are in that drawing.
Well, if I was in that 500, I'd be working out right now to make sure there's no way I'm tapping out during that workout.
You do not want to tap out.
No. I mean, and if they want to, if they're old like me, there is a PP. What do you guys call it?
The PP50.
PP50 plus
preseason
or whatever.
prep 50 plus.
Yeah. That's a 9-week program, by the way, folks. And it was worth every bit of it.
That was cool because that we created based on starting our training process with you. Mm-hmm. And so much of it was around we needed to fill a gap in our products that had more mobility, more stability. Yeah. And that's stuff that we all lose as we age. And we hadn't focused on that before. Mm-hmm. So it was a huge blessing having you come in to look for assistance getting ready for the McKenzie's, because it created that whole product out of that process. And now that whole product has helped thousands of people that are 50 or older. I mean, it'll certainly be one of our most popular programs of 2024 because, well, there are a lot of hunters that are 50 plus that now in their life have some time, have some space to finally go on some of the hunts they want to go on. Yeah. And so that's a large demographic that had never really been served with a specific program.
Okay.
But it all came out from us starting to work with you in the lab. So that was not something we expected, which was cool.
I still remember the first day you guys were doing assessments of me, and you asked me to stand on one foot and do this and do that. And I'm like, they're going to throw me out of here. I'm an embarrassment to their lab. But
I remember how fast it started improving, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was I guess for me. If you don't have something that holds you accountable, like you guys and just being in the program held me accountable, you do ramp up quickly. Mm-hmm. And the incremental steps are happening, and you almost don't even notice how much change there is from, say, week 3 to week 9. And once you get to week 9, then it's kind of a maintenance thing. Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't do too much antelope hunting, it's easy to maintain.
Yeah, remember there was that specific season where it was right around the RMEF anniversary where everyone started seeing you out in the wild again. And they're like, wow, something looks different about Rand. Like we started hearing that all the time.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. My wife, she's the same way. And she's like, you're so full of energy. And you just, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm eating better. I'm getting exercise, so I'm sleeping better. It just, like you said earlier, it's kind of like all these pieces combined when you make that measure the difference each of those make, yeah, it's significant. But when you do them all, the difference it makes it's noticeable.
Yeah, all these little bricks.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys putting up with me. When I went home and I told my wife, I'm like, the Mountain Tough folks want to do a workout program with me. It was all she could do not to roll on the floor and laugh out loud.
You're a fitness model influencer.
Yeah. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, they think that there's a lot of old gray-haired accountants like me who want to keep hunting, and they think I'd be a good candidate. She's like, wait a second, with your bum liver, with your bad arm, with your foot surgery, she did tell me this will be interesting, I think is what her comment was. But now she's all about it.
That's cool.
She's like, I hope you keep doing that, and I will. Now that I'm there, you just feel like you can't buy back the days of your life that maybe you feel that you could have done better. But you can earn your health back. And that's been one of the lessons for me in this period, or this process, is I don't get those days back from 5 years ago when I wasn't in that good a shape. I was in decent shape, but not like the shape I want to be to get out of the hunts that I feel they deserve. And so I've realized that even if you can't buy back the time, you can earn back your health. And it's not easy. You think about how many years, maybe you just kind of let it, be an afterthought. If you're like me and you're a CPA and you're at the office too much and you're sitting too much, it can be daunting. But the rewards of earning that health back, and then the reward of just staying there. You got some days you feel like a little better or a little worse, but you're keeping it there. My optimism of the life ahead of me and the hunting ahead of me is way higher than it was a year ago.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNPOD to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app. listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. It's more valuable than money. I mean, money is going to come and go.
Yeah.
But if we're not healthy enough to have the quality of life we want,
Yeah.
the money's worthless.
Yeah. People who watch our videos or read anything I write, the signature out on my website says, hunt when you can, you're going to run out of health before you run out of money. I believe that because I have too many family and friends and people I knew who died with a lot of money at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to run out of health or money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure, to whatever degree I can, that my health stays. We're blessed. I don't care what anyone's spirituality is. I view that I'm blessed to have a body that is upright and functioning. And through time, through life, through events, I realized there were times I took that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've gotten older and I've seen people who love to hunt or loved whatever, and they cannot do it or they're no longer with us, I'm not that guy. It's going to take that blessing for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have just helped me amp that up even to a higher level.
That's cool.
And I appreciate that.
Appreciate you. Yeah, it's been a cool year, unexpected, with you walking across the street.
Yeah. Well, you can thank Marcus for that.
Yeah.
Because Marcus was over here with you guys last year.
Yeah.
Because he had a sheep tag. And boy, did he put in the effort.
Man.
And he's so polite. He should have just came and said, Randy, you know what? You're not in very good shape. You need to go over to Mountain Tough. Instead, he said something to the effect of, I think that Mountain Tough, you would be impressed with what Mountain Tough does.
Mm.
I know you're not a gym rat, but I think you should go over there and check it out. So
that's all it took.
Yeah. So here I am.
I did want to close with one question. I heard you and Nate talking on the side of the mountain, and I believe you said, if you're going to do a hunt like the McKenzies, it's a hunt that you want to pay for.
Yeah.
And my analysis of that in my mind when I heard that was that in the hunting industry, and even with some of these companies we have in the hunting industry in filming some of these hunts, there are opportunities that come up for hunts to be paid for by someone else.
Right.
So it happens at Mountain Tough all the time where X, Y, and Z is offering to take you on this trip. And
Right.
So there are these free adventure opportunities that arise.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine what you're telling Nate is a special one like the McKenzies you wanted to pay for with your own hard-earned savings, and because you value things that you pay for yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. The other part of it was, over time, I've come to learn, as much as I still have this embarrassment that people recognize us, it's like, man, I grew up in a trailer house. Man, if you guys only knew, no one would want a picture with me. So I have come to realize that these platforms that we've built, they can be a valuable thing. Not to me, but to what I love, hunting. And so this whole hunt with the McKenzies was a fundraiser that we did with the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society. And Andy won that sweepstakes. And one of my deals with them was, I'm paying for my own hunt for the reason you mentioned, because I think I'd appreciate it more. And two, this wasn't an event for Randy to go on a free sheep hunt. This is an event to raise money for conservation.
Yeah.
And so for those reasons, yeah, I wanted to pay for it myself. Some people think that is a criticism for those who maybe do take advantage of all those opportunities that come our way. And it's not a statement of that. It's just each person looks at it differently. I'm one of the big companies wanted me to come and do an elk hunting seminar at a very, very high dollar elk operation in Utah, where you get to hunt bugling elk with a rifle in the rut. And they said, if you'd come here and talk to all of our people about rifle elk hunting, we'll pay for your hunt. And I just, I know those are $25,000 or whatever dollar hunts. I politely declined. I didn't feel that and this sounds so judgmental, and I don't mean it to be that way. It's just why I hunt and my motivations for hunting and why I live my life is maybe just different.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite fit in what that is. And that's not, trying to cast a judgment one way or the other, but yeah, that's back to your point of me and Nate talking about that. It was important to me that it was a hunt that I paid for.
I love that.
I'd been saving money since I was 30.
That part of the story is wild.
Yeah.
Saving a couple $100 a month when you didn't have it.
Right. And that was a big sacrifice at my house when I was 30. You got a 3-year-old kid, you're trying to start your own CPA firm. And so all of these hunts that I saved for, there were 4 of them. They really meant a lot to me. And I've tried to articulate it, and I still don't have the words to explain the feeling of setting a long-term goal that requires a monthly commitment to it. And you wonder, you ask yourself, am I just kidding myself? I'll never have enough money, or that goal is going to vaporize before
30,
I
40
get there.
years.
And then I remember walking off. I'm sure Marcus was wondering what I was doing, but I let everybody get way ahead of me when I was hauling the ram off the mountain. They called it the glory load, right? I get the horns and the cape. But everyone else is down below me a few hundred yards. And I was just thinking about so many things. And one of them was, how do you express the gratification and the appreciation that comes with having a dream when you're a teenager, committing yourself to it when you're 30, and you don't quite pull it off until you're 59, but you still stuck with it and you pulled it off.
Yeah.
That was probably that was a big portion of why that hunt means so much to me. Is now my hunting account's depleted. So, but anyhow, all those things, I'm sure there's some people listening who can relate to that because they've done that. They've set a 5-year plan or a 20-year plan and they pulled it off. But that was part of why I wanted to pay for that hunt. Is this was what that money was set aside for. It was going to represent crossing, if you want to say crossing the finish line, or getting to, climbing this mountain.
Yeah.
Of something that a punk kid growing up as in a divorced family, single parent family, pretty poor, has no business having a dream like that. But that's what's so great about this country, right?
Yeah, you can do it if you want it.
You can have that dream, and if you block out the naysayers, you think you're crazy, who laugh at your dream, and you say, I don't care, laugh all you want, funny boy. I'm going to be laughing on the mountain someday. You can do it in this country. And I know that's really getting out there in the intangibles and the abstractions of it all. But to me, that was a big part of that hunt, and walking off that mountain, looking at these guys who'd helped me accomplish a dream. Man,
that's cool.
It was pretty, it was a borderline emotional feeling. It definitely put a lump in my throat thinking about that.
Yeah. And, for more than 40-year journey, if you count when you first learned about it.
And all the people who helped along that path, especially my wife and my son, that money could have been spent doing something with them. But we all had our own dreams, and we allocated accordingly and prioritized. And all those decisions that don't know, we're not going to go out for dinner 3 times this week, and we're not going to go on this fancy vacation, all of that comes to that point there.
Yeah.
And so that's part of why I've realized that the value of paying my own way brings a sense of appreciation and reflection of what it took to get there.
Man. Yeah, it's what we all want to pass down to our kids, and especially in an instant gratification world.
Yeah.
When Lindsay and I worked in Uganda, the kids had a African proverb that they would say all the time, and it was, "Water begged for does not quench the thirst," is what they would say.
Wow.
And they were saying exactly what you did the opposite of. And we've all felt that. Like, we've all felt saving for that rifle and having purchased it on our own, or saving for a truck and purchasing it on our own with cash, even though it takes 5 years or 8 years. And the pride in that versus getting some sort of handout or some sort of opportunity, the pride of like setting that goal and working for it. It's difficult, and it does require a tremendous amount of sacrifice, but it does add a lot more purpose and meaning to that trip and to life, for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I try to express that on my platforms, and it sounds like, okay, boomer, like I'm trying to be the old man telling everyone how it should be, but I'm grateful for every hardship I had to endure in life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we raise our kids, I think we try to protect them from hardships, but I often wonder, are we doing them a favor?
Mm.
And younger people who maybe have a level of expectation that things should come easier, I don't know if we're doing any favors there.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe I'm wrong. Who am I to say how to raise kids or whatever? But every hardship that I've had to endure in life, and everybody has them, has been a benefit to me, and has made me more appreciative for what it took to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The water begged for doesn't quench the thirst.
Mm-hmm.
I think if someone would have smoothed all the bumps in the road for me, I would have way less appreciation for what life I've been offered and what opportunities I've been offered. And through those hardships, now everything I look at is an opportunity. Mm-hmm. I don't see any problems, really. All I see are opportunities.
Yeah, and they're teaching us so much.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had such a phenomenal trip. It's been fun to hear about it.
Well, thank you so much. You and everybody here at MTNTOUGH, all of you were so critical in that. And you're going to, you have set me on a path, or helped me get back on a path that I'm going to get so much more out of my hunting life and my health and my relationships and in everything in my life, because of the processes you guys have put together. And I'm sure there's thousands of listeners who are nodding their head saying, yeah, it's made that difference to me. Because what did you tell me when we first met? The why is to change something.
Yeah, we're working on changing 100,000 lives.
Yeah. You guys are well on that way. Count me as one of 100,000. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. And I know at work too, that was one of my favorite parts of this whole journey with you, which is interesting. But I was so excited to see you right back in the lab working out like a day or two after you got home from the McKenzies.
Yeah.
And that says so much, because that just showed that like the lifestyle had changed.
Yep.
So you're home from the dream list, bucket list trip, and right back in the gym.
Yeah.
And that was so amazing.
Yeah. Well, you let me get back a lot of what I thought maybe I would never get back. Mm-hmm. And it makes me appreciate it more, and I'm not letting it go.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
What a phenomenal conversation with Randy. You can hear in his voice, you can see it in his eyes, the passion he had for this hunt. Man, it gets me fired up. It makes me think of every way possible I can see the McKenzie someday. It just shows the power of wild places and what the backcountry can do for our spirit and how it can light us up. The golden nugget that stuck out to me, there's a lot of gold in here, but there's one that hit me hard, and that's that instant gratification thing he talked about. He did not want this to be a free trip, a marketing trip, an industry trip. Randy has literally been putting money aside in a separate account since when he first got married to make sure that he went on this bucket list hunt. And he knew that if he spent his own money through his own sweat and blood, the trip would mean that much more to him. It just showed the integrity of Randy, and it shows the ability to achieve anything you want to in life if you're willing to wait and put in that hard work. So I just love that so much. I hope you guys love this episode. Make sure you are following Randy if you are not already at Fresh Tracks. He has some phenomenal content on his YouTube channel of DIY public land hunts all across the country. One of the top hunting shows on YouTube, hands down. Love you guys, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. We'll see you next week.